Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We'd like to start the proceeding of today's MuslehMaudDay. Can I request Arif Khan sir to please come and recite a portion of Holy Quran translation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. Translation of the verses I've just recited are as follows. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah the gracious, the merciful. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth glorifies Allah, the sovereign, the holy, the mighty, the wise. He it is who has raised among the unlettered people a messenger from among themselves, who recites unto them his signs, and purifies them, and teaches them the book and wisdom, although they had been before in manifest misguidance. And among others from among them, who have not yet joined them, he is the mighty, the wise. That is Allah's grace. He bestows it on whom he pleases, and Allah is the master of immense grace.
Can I request a feed Bachis how to please recite a portion of poem?
کلام سے مسلم اور رضی اللہ عنہ. دشمن کو ظلم کی برچھی سے تم سینہ و دل برمانے دو. یہ درد رہے گا بن کے دوا تم صبر کرو وقت آنے دو. یہ عشق وفا کے کھیت کبھی یہ عشق وفا کے کھیت کبھی خون سینچ بغیر نہ پنپیں گے. اس راہ میں جان کی کیا پرواہ جاتی ہے اگر تو جانے دو. اس راہ میں جان کی کیا پرواہ جاتی ہے اگر تو جانے دو. جب سونا آگ میں جب سونا آگ میں پڑتا ہے تو کندن بن کے نکلتا ہے. پھر گالیوں سے کیوں ڈرتے ہو, دل جلتے ہو تو جلنے دو. پھر گالیوں سے کیوں ڈرتے ہو, دل جلتے ہیں تو جل جانے دو. جو سچے مومن بن جاتے ہیں, جو سچے مومن بن جاتے ہیں, موت بھی ان سے ڈرتی ہے. تم سچے مومن بن جاؤ اور خوف کو پاس نہ آنے دو. تم سچے مومن بن جاؤ اور خوف کو پاس نہ آنے دو. یہ زخم تمہارے سینوں کے, یہ زخم تمہارے سینوں کے بن جائیں گے رش کے چمن اس دن. ہے قادر مطلق یار میرا, تم میرے یار کو آنے دو. ہے قادر مطلق یار میرا, تم میرے یار کو آنے دو. دشمن کو ظلم کی برچھی سے تم سینہ و دل برمانے دو. یہ درد رہے گا بن کے دوا, تم صبر کرو وقت آنے دو. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ واشہد ان محمدا عبدہ ورسولہ. اما بعد فاعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. Even if all the people leave you and I am left alone, I would stand by you and would face all opposition and onslaughts against your mission. These were the words spoken by a young man upon the death of his father, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018.mov. At the time of the promised Messiah ﷺ's demise, his son was only 19 years old. Yet his words were very powerful and filled with conviction and loyalty to the very highest order. My dear brothers and sisters, today my topic is on the life of Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018 and him being the promised reformer. These words that Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018 said at the presence of the deathbed of the promised Messiah were not just emotional words or emotional claim made by someone who is very sad that his father is passing away, but this proves, and the history testifies, that this man led a life where he fulfilled all the promises and all these words that he uttered at that time in his life and through his actions. A man of God, an ocean of divine and secular knowledge, the voice of the age, and without doubt a great genius of the 20th century. These are just a few of the descriptions of the promised son, of the promised Messiah of the age, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad Razillah Ta'ala anhu. And to really understand what Hazrat MuslehMaud Razillah Ta'ala anhu was and what purpose he was given and what his status is, we have to go back to what the Holy Quran says. And in the tilawah today, you heard those verses which are very familiar to you, and you probably heard them so many times. But every time that you hear them, they are related to something special. And one of those things, of course, is Khilafat and the latter days. And within Khilafat, it also talks about those people who are going to rejuvenate faith. They're going to make faith, Islam, the way it was at the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. This is no ordinary work. It requires a revolution. And that revolution, explained by Allah the Almighty in the Holy Quran, we saw that materialize through Khilafat. And one of the biggest achievements we see in Khilafat is also the time of Hazrat MuslehMaud Razillah Ta'ala anhu. Now the Holy Quran says, وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. That, and he will raise him among others of them who have not yet joined them. He is mighty, the wise. Now when this verse was first revealed, the Holy Prophet ﷺ was asked, naturally by the companions at that time, that how do we identify those men? How do we find out who are these people that are going to be the rightly guided ones, and whom you have said that we should accept the bay'at and follow? And this is a very logical question. There has to be some signs. Now, the Holy Prophet ﷺ at that time laid his hand on Hazrat Salman Farsi, who was one of the companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and he said that when the Iman or the faith goes up to Suraya or the Pleiades, as we say in English, so far distance stars, that far from the earth, the Iman or the faith will vanish. A man or men from among the descendants of this man would surely bring it back. So it is a grand prophecy and a very special prophecy as well. And at that time, if we look at the Promised Islam and his lineage of where he came from and his background, you can see the Promised Islam has explained himself name by name who his elder grandfather and their own were and where they came from. They all were from Persia. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ gave us this sign to see. And also he said about the Promised ﷺ that يَتَزَوَّجُ وَيُولَدُ لَهُ. And in Arabic it means that the Promised ﷺ, when he will come, he will marry and he will have children. Now, this prophecy is a great prophecy as well, because one thing is that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is telling us about the coming of the Promised Messiah and his progeny. But then somebody could say, okay, many people come and they marry and then they have children, so it's a normal thing. So what is special? Now the special thing is that when Allah Ta'ala says to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ informs us that يَتَزَوَّجُ وَيُولَدُ لَهُ, it means that that person who is going to get married or is going to marry and he's going to have children is not going to be an ordinary person, and his marriage is not going to be an ordinary marriage, and his children, his progeny, are not going to be ordinary progeny. It's not going to be like normally how it is. So this also shows that the Holy Prophet ﷺ prophesied that the progeny of the Holy Prophet or of the Promised Messiah ﷺ will be exceptional, and this is in accordance to the verse of the Quran as well. So just to give you, this is the background, that we find this background in the Holy Quran and in the Hadith. Now, the Promised Messiah ﷺ, at the time when there were a lot of people who were fighting against Islam and raising a lot of allegations. Islam was basically under attack from all corners. The atheists were attacking Islam, the Hindus were attacking the Jewish, the Christians, and there was no one to defend Islam. So at that time, the Prophet ﷺ prayed and made great efforts to defend Islam, and he also went into an isolation and seclusion where he was in 40 days, and he prayed very fervently to Allah the Almighty to help him. And Allah the Almighty granted him prophecy at that time about Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018.mov. That is well known. And this place where he stayed was in Hoshiarpur. So as a result of this, on the 20th February 1886, after his 40 days of intense prayer, whereover the Prophet ﷺ published a leaflet with a prophecy that God had revealed to him in the 40 days that he will grant him a special son. And the prophecy comes as follows. So the prophecy is that God the merciful, the noble, the high, the exalted, who has power to do all that he wills, glory be to him and exalted by his name, has vouchsafed to me the following revelation. So the revelation starts. This is ilham of Allah Ta'ala to the Prophet Messiah. I confer upon thee a sign of my mercy according to thy supplications. I have heard thy entreaties and have honored thy prayers with my acceptance through my mercy, and have blessed this thy journey. A sign of power, mercy, nearness to me is bestowed on thee. A sign of grace and beneficence is awarded to thee, and thou art granted the key of success and victory. Peace on thee, O victorious one. Thus does Allah speak, so that those who desire life may be rescued from the grip of death, and those who are buried in the graves may emerge therefrom, and so that the superiority of Islam and the dignity of God's words may become manifest unto the people, and so that the truth may arrive with all its blessings, and falsehood may depart with all its ill, and so that people may understand that I am the Lord of power. I do whatever I will, and so that they may believe that I am with thee, and so that those who do not believe in God and deny and reject his religion and his book and his holy messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the chosen one, may be confronted with a clear sign, and the way of the guilty ones may become manifest. Rejoice therefore that a handsome and pure boy will be bestowed on thee. Thou wilt receive a bright youth who will be of thy seed and will be of thy progeny. A handsome and pure boy will come to you as a guest. His name is Emmanuel and Bashir. He has been invested with the Holy Spirit, and he will be free from all impurity. He is the light of Allah. Blessed is he who comes from heaven. He shall be accompanied by grace, fazl, which shall arrive with him. He will be characterized with grandeur, greatness, and wealth. He will come into this world and will heal many of their disorder through his messianic qualities and through the blessings of the Holy Spirit. He is the word of Allah, for Allah's mercy and honor have equipped him with the word of majesty. He will be extremely intelligent and understanding, and will be meek of heart, and will be filled with secular and spiritual knowledge. He will convert 3 into 4. Of this the meaning is not clear, the Prophet says. The revelation continues. It is Monday, a blessed Monday, sun, delight of heart, high-ranking, noble, a manifestation of the first and the last, a manifestation of the true and the high, as if Allah has descended from heaven. His advent will be greatly blessed and will be a source of manifestation of divine majesty. Behold, a light cometh, a light anointed by God with the perfume of his pleasure. We shall pour our spirit into him, and he will be sheltered under the shadow of God. He will grow rapidly in stature and will be the means of procuring the release of those in bondage. His fame will spread to the ends of the earth, and people will be blessed through him. He will then be raised to his spiritual station in heaven, and this is a matter decreed. So it's very powerful words that the Revelation talks about, and it shows us also what kind of status Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018.mov had. And if one looks at the life of the second Khalifa, you can see all the achievements and all the things where Allah Ta'ala manifested all these attributes and all these things that he promised will be in his personality through him. So there are so many things that you can mention, But one thing that has to be mentioned here is that his service to the Jama'at in all capacities are unrivaled, and also his knowledge and his extreme intelligence, which he demonstrated through his advice and through his establishment of different auxiliary organizations, but also through his speeches, through his tafsir, through his commentary of the Holy Quran, which is indeed a great blessing for us. He wrote almost about 850 books and small booklets, and this does not include at all Tafsir Kabir, which again is a huge work that Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018.mov did. And his sermons and lectures and speeches are also left out. And if you read Tafsir, just Tafsir al-Quran, you'll be amazed by the knowledge of Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018. Not only just the religious knowledge that Allah Ta'ala gave him, but the worldly knowledge and command of different subjects such as agriculture, science, all these things that he mentioned, one has to read, and these things can be read through some of the notes that are published in English as well in the 5-volume commentary. But one has to also read the real and the whole tafsir in Urdu, which Hazur has written and is published. Among his other services to humanity was one that he will help those in bondage and release them, and this is part of the prophecy. And if you look at the history, Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018, his services to, for example, Pakistan and Kashmir are also remarkable. Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018 was actually the one who persuaded Muhammad Ali Jinnah to return and serve Pakistan through his one of the missionaries of the Jama'at there. And Hazur was also the first head of the committee which fought for the right of people of Kashmir. If it wasn't for the efforts of Hazur, Pakistan would have not been in existence today, in fact. And so with the Kashmir, obviously with a lot of opposition, the mullahs didn't want Hazur to be part of the Kashmir committee. So he left that. But just imagine if Hazur had been there, the Kashmir area would have been part of Pakistan. And all these services that Hazur did, surely it's very unfortunate that the people of Pakistan, or some of the people of Pakistan, do not recognize that now, or don't want to recognize. Also with regards to tafsir, in one of the places in Tafsir al-Kabir, in the commentary of Surah Fatiha, Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018 has mentioned that in one of his visions or dreams, Allah Ta'ala, through angels, taught him the meanings of Surah Fatiha. And he said that when he woke up, he remembered half of it. And he said that he started writing it down. And if you read Surah Fatiha Tafsir in Tafsir al-Kabir, you see there is many pages of Tafsir. And this is again a great sign that Allah Ta'ala taught him himself. Also, if you look, when Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018 was born, it wasn't that he was taught a very high level of education, or if he went to a private school, nothing like that. In fact, it was the opposite. Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018 was of very weak health in the beginning. His eyes were very weak, and he was struggling. He couldn't even read or learn the basic school studies. And Hazrat Hakim Maulana Nuruddin Sahib, who was the first Khalifa, he was at that time his private teacher, and he was very concerned, and he said to Hazrat Masih Maud once that Bashiruddin is not learning the basic things because of his health. So what should we do? The Prophet ﷺ didn't had even one single concern, and he said, don't worry about him, because there is prophecy and Allah Ta'ala will teach him. And this is exactly what happened. Allah Ta'ala told him and taught him all these things. And at a young age, when he became Khalifa, his services and his knowledge continued to be seen throughout the world. So the time does not permit me to even mention all the achievements and the great contributions of Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018. The only thing I want to leave you with is that the only way we can learn and take advantage of what all the services that he has done to us is through studying and at least read those things that he had left with us, and follow his example, follow his teachings. Read Tafsir al-Kabir, read the commentary if you can in English, and we do that here in the mosque, but do it yourself as well, because that will give you insight to the Holy Quran. And the Holy Quran is what lays basis for all our knowledge. And this is what Hazrat Muslim Maud did for us. May Allah exalt his status and enable us to understand and learn from his achievements. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum. On the 12th of January 1889, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam was blessed with a son named Mirza Bashir Mahmud Ahmad Rizqullah anhu. It was this child who would go on to further fulfill the Quranic prophecy, and he will raise him among others of them, and he would fulfill the prophecy of MuslehMaud, the promised son.
From early on, the seventh Khalifa of Islam was unlike most of the children. He saw the extreme importance of prayer and also the mission of Ahmadiyya Islam, entrusted to the promised Messiah alayhi salam. So much so that on the 26th of May 1908, the day in which the Jama'at faced the toughest trial that they have ever faced upon the passing away of the Imam Mahdi of the Sage. It is narrated that Hazrat Muslim stood by the body of his father and said, if the entire world was to leave him, then no matter what, he would continue to stand alone and face all the persecution and hatred on behalf of the mission of the Prophet Messiah alayhi salam. Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Sadiq Sahib said that three things characterized Hazrat Muslim in his childhood. Firstly, his goodness. Secondly, his total honesty in all matters. And thirdly, his interest in religious matters. He said that he regularly saw him offering prayers at the side of the Prophet Messiah alayhi salam. He further narrates that on one occasion, when Hazrat Muslim was around 10 years old, he saw him pray next to the promised Messiah alayhi salam in Masjid Aqsa. He said that even though he was a child, he was bowed down and weeping constantly in sajda to God Almighty.
Another companion, Hazrat Shaykh Ghulam Ahmad Sahib, narrated that one night he decided to spend the entire night in worship of God Almighty at the Masjid Mubarak in Qadian. He said when he arrived, he saw a young person bowed down in prayer. The emotion of the scene was such that the narrator said that he himself started to pray to God, that whatever this person is beseeching Allah, may grant it to him. He continued by saying that he did not know for how long prior to his arrival that the person had been bowed down in prayer, but that whilst he was there, this continued for a long time. Finally, when he arose, the narrator saw that it was Hazrat Mirza Bashir Mahmud Ahmad Rizqullah anhu. He said that he immediately went to meet him. Hazrat Shaykh Ghulam Ahmad Sahib inquired, "Tonight, what have you taken from Allah?" Upon this, Hazrat Muslim Rizqullah anhu replied, "I have only asked that may Allah grant me the ability to see Islam as a living religion." This reply illustrates clearly how even from childhood, Hazrat Muslim Rizqullah anhu shared the grief of his father over the state of Islam and the need for reformation of Muslims and the importance of reinstating the true teachings of Islam. He had been bowed down in prayer and had not requested any personal favor from his Lord, only that the pure Islam be revived in front of his own eyes. Jazakumullah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum. Hazrat Muslim Maud says, number 1, do you know what it means to work hard? To work so hard that you work up to 13 to 14 hours a day. Number 2, do you know how to speak the truth, that no matter what the circumstances are, you could never tell a lie, that even a close friend or a relative may not tell a lie in your presence. And if somebody narrates in front of you a story of his audaciously telling a lie, you could not help but show your disgust. Number 3, are you free of all false standards of self-respect? Can you sweep the streets? Can you walk the streets with loads on your shoulders? Can you make various announcements loudly in public areas? Can you walk for the whole day and keep awake for the whole night? Number 4, can you go in ittikaf, meaning A, to sit at one place for days, B, to sit for hours praying, and C, to refrain from talking to anyone for hours and days? Number 5, are you able to travel alone, carrying your own baggage and without any money in your pocket, among enemies and opponents, among strangers and non-acquainted people, for days, weeks and months? Number 6. Do you accept that there are some people who are above all types of defeats? They do not like to hear the word defeat. They are willing to cut through mountains. They are ready to pull up rivers. Do you think that you can be ready for such sacrifice? Number 7. Do you have the courage that when the world says no, you say yes? All the people around you laugh at you, yet you remain composed. People run after you and say, "Wait, we are going to give you a beating." And instead of running away, you stop and say with great humbleness, "Here I am, beat me." You listen to no one, as you know the people utter falsehood, but you convince them all because you are truthful. Number 8. You should not say, "I worked hard, but Almighty God failed me." Instead, in each failure, you blame your own self. You firmly believe that whoever works hard will succeed, and whoever does not succeed has not worked hard at all. Where are you? A man of God has been in search for you of a very long time. O Ahmadi youth, search for this person in your province, in your city, in your neighbourhood, and in your heart, since the tree of Islam is withering away, and only with his blood will it once again flourish. Leaflet, I am searching for you.
All of us. Next is a speech by Yasir Khan Sahib, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. When I was asked to prepare for this speech, I was fairly apprehensive due to the fact that I look out here and I see people that have probably had the honour of meeting Hazrat Musleh Maud, or they've had the chance to be in his presence or listen to his speeches live and listen to his great oratory skills. But the preparation gave me the opportunity to go and see the content that's out there, that's available to us now, in terms of listening to his recordings, the Musleh Maud recordings, listening to his sermons that are available to us, and also to listen to the elderly scholars and Jama'at elders and their recollections of Hazrat Musleh Maud that are available out there. And for me that was a great enlightening experience actually, because it gave me so much to learn. The difficulty I had, however, was to choose which facet of Hazrat Musleh Maud's life I was going to speak on, because there are so many achievements in his life that some Rabbi Saab has alluded to and the Atfal have also alluded to, because we could have talked about his family life, his oratory skills, his love for the Jama'at and his love for Hazrat Damajan, his achievements in his Khilafat, his achievements in building a city out of nowhere in terms of Rabwa. But today, and Rabbi Saab alluded a little bit to it, I'm just going to talk a bit in detail about Hazrat Musleh Maud's services for the Holy Quran. Perhaps his greatest achievement was his outstanding contribution to literature. Although he had no worldly qualifications, he clearly displayed the ability, as he was promised by Allah, in both religious and secular knowledge, the fountainhead of which he said was the Holy Quran. This aspect of his service to the Holy Quran is outstanding. One can say that such service to the Holy Quran and such love of the Holy Prophet is a yardstick and a measure that show nearness to Allah and the truthfulness of this man of God. The Holy Quran states itself that knowledge and understanding of the Holy Quran are only granted to he who is a man of God. Hazrat Musleh Maud's services have been greatly acknowledged and greatly appreciated in the past, and his commentary of the Holy Quran will continue to be a service and a source of enlightenment for mankind in the future also. To show the true status and magnificence of the Holy Quran, to manifest its enlightened word, and to present its knowledge to the world was one of the objectives of Hazrat Musleh Maud during his lifetime. However, one ought to say his actual purpose and fundamental reason for being born and for Allah to send him to this world was for him to make evident the brilliance of the Holy Quran. From his early years, he started the service to the Holy Quran, and indeed did this with great passion. And although, like Murabbi Sahib mentioned, that he had no secular education, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Awwal, the first Khalifa, took it upon himself to teach him his education. And Hazrat Khalifatul Masih the first used to say to him that, Mia, you probably will not be able to read because of his eyesight. You probably will not be able to read. Your eyesight is weak and your health is frail. So I will read and you shall listen. And he also said that, Mia, I have taught you the Holy Quran and Bukhari. Everything else is in addition to this. The essence of knowledge is that which I have taught you and that which you have learnt through my readings of the Holy Quran. When Hazrat Musleh Maud was appointed Khalifa to the Jama'at, Hazrat Musleh Maud started his service to the Holy Quran from his very first day. His service was in the sense that he started to give dars to the Jama'at about the Holy Quran. He brought attention to the learning of the Holy Quran and held dars for the men and women. Sahibzada Mirza Muzaffar Ahmad, M.M. Ahmad Sahib, in his memoirs, he also writes that about Hazrat Musleh Maud's love for the Holy Quran, that his love and attachment for the Quran was deep and abiding. On Saturdays, he would give dars among women. He remembers the scenes, M.M. Ahmad Sahib says, the scene is still fresh and vivid in my mind, that Hazrat Musleh Maud would stand in the veranda of Hazrat Amma Jan's house and the ladies would sit in the courtyard or in close by rooms. And in those days it was a small crowd, but he would also give dars among men, which was attended by his children, and gave a special dars during summer vacations in Masjid Aqsa, which was attended by a large number of Ahmadis, even from outside of Qadian. And this dars was given every day for hours and lasted many weeks. In 1928, Hazur gave a detailed discourse and dars on 5 parts of the Holy Quran, and he would give dars that lasted for 4 or 5 hours at a time. And in spite of his other engagements, people and also the engagements of the Ahmadis at that time, they would also come and take leave from their governmental jobs and come and listen to the dars that Hazrat Musleh Maud would give. And Hazrat Musleh Maud would take 3 or 4 hours to without stopping and do this dars non-stop. People would come with a great and burning desire to listen and learn the Holy Quran from Hazrat Musleh Maud. He would recite the verses of the Holy Quran. His manner of recitation was extraordinary. It was such that the listener would wish him to continue reciting. His recitation brought delight, beauty and grace to the listeners, so that every listener would wish him to recite even more. It was in 1939 that Hazrat Musleh Maud announced that at the Jalsa Salana in 1939, that the series of dars that he had given, or that he had started at that time, would be published in the form of a tafsir. And he spent the whole of that year up till the next Jalsa Salana working profusely and working non-stop through the night to make sure that his commentary of the whole Holy Quran was done at that time, because he had said that he had promised at that Jalsa Salana that it would be ready for people to come to Jalsa Salana and take their copy and buy their copy. And it was not only just the Jama'at members that bought this dars of the Holy Quran, but it was also the members, non-Ahmadi members, who also used this opportunity to gain greater understanding of the Holy Quran. Hazrat Musleh Maud would say that I haven't studied at any university. My university is the Holy Quran and my university is the Hadith. Hazrat Musleh Maud also said, this tafsir, talking about tafsir kabir, this tafsir is the best gift a friend can give to another friend. It is the best gift from a husband to his wife, from a wife to her husband, from a father to a son, from a brother to a sister. It is the best of dowries for brides. Tafsir Kabir is not just a commentary of the Holy Quran. Rabbi Sahib alluded to this, because it tells of philosophy, history, geography, comparative studies of other religions. And Hazrat Musleh Maud goes into great details of the prophecies that are in the Holy Quran from the past, that were fulfilled in our current times, such as the canals of Panama and Suez and the atomic bombs and cosmic rays, these are all prophecies illustrated to us by Hazrat Musleh Maud in his tafsir. But he also demonstrated certain prophecies that will be fulfilled in later times, even after the commentary was published. For example, in one of his portions of tafsir, he says that there is a prophecy in the Holy Quran that the Jews would occupy Palestine. And when Huzur was writing a commentary in 1940, there was no occupation of Palestine, of Jews in Palestine at that time. There were only Muslims. However, 8 years later, the prophecy of the Holy Quran was fulfilled and Palestine became a Jewish territory. But Huzur also said that at some point in time, Muslims would occupy Palestine again, and hence this was the prophecy told by Huzur at that time. I just want to talk a bit about, or just also on Tafsir-e-Saghir, which was the Hazrat Musleh Maud's shorter version of the tafsir of the Holy Quran. This was something that Hazrat Musleh Maud undertook in his when he was very, very ill, and he did not stop his tafsir of the Quran despite his ill health. And in that precarious state of health, he took the monumental task of writing his shorter commentary of the Holy Quran, which is Tafsir-e-Saghir. These commentaries of the Holy Quran are never to be surpassed. The services rendered in this respect are extraordinary. Thus, even with this service, the prophecy of Hazrat Musleh Maud, of Hazrat Nasir Maud, was fulfilled. This prophecy that with great magnificence through him, and the rank and the eminence of the word of Allah would become duly manifest. Just on one other piece of, or on another subject on Hazrat Musleh Maud's love for the Jama'at, just very quickly, in Sayyidada Mirza M.M. Ahmad Sahib's memories, he writes that Hazrat Musleh Maud had infinite love for the Jama'at. I clearly remember how he paced up and down the veranda in Lahore with a small size Quran in his hand. This is at the time of partition, that as soon as a caravan of Ahmadis left Qadian and moved towards the Pakistan border. Almost throughout this period, he prayed quietly and constantly and would not rest until the caravan had crossed the border safely. He also says that it is in my knowledge that at time of crisis for the Jama'at, as Musleh Maud stopped sleeping in the comfort of his bed and would sleep on the floor, praying all the time until God had assured him of success and resolution of the crisis. The other impression which Imam Ahmad Sahib writes about is his hard work and untiring efforts in the service of Islam and Ahmadiyyat. I still remember seeing him sitting on the floor in a room, covering himself with a blanket, with just a dozen or so long candles on an overturned box, and Huzur would work throughout the night, and sometimes would work throughout the night and just go to Fajr the next day without having slept a wink. And this was the contribution that Hazrat Musleh Maud had made, and the sacrifice that he had made for all of us. Just as I finish, in my research for this speech, there was one piece of poetry or a shair that I had come across, which I thought I'd share with you. That dosto socho ye sara marhala aasan na tha, dosto socho ye sara silsila aasan na tha. कौम जब सोई हुई थी सोचता रहता था वो, कौम जब सोई हुई थी जागता रहता था वो, कौम अहमद जाग तुम भी और जाग उसके वास्ते, अनगिनत रातें जो तेरे दर्द में सोया नहीं.
Hey,
request the last speaker, MuslehMaudDay2018.mov, to give us some insight about the different auxiliary organizations and about the activities established by MuslehMaudDay2018. This will be our last program of today.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. One of the qualities or attributes of the MuslehMaud, of the prophecy of MuslehMaud, as have already been read also and we also know, is that MuslehMaud will be extraordinarily intelligent. I am just here to say something about the auxiliary organizations, that is Majlis Khuddam al-Ahmadiyya, Majlis Ansarullah, Lajna Imallah and Nasiratul Ahmadiyya, Iqtafalul Ahmadiyya, that were formed by Hazrat MuslehMaud 1 year or another year. As we all know, we are here Khuddam and we are in Ansar and Lajnat and Nasirat and Iqtafal, all of us are there. We know the benefits of all these schemes, all these organizations. These are the breeding grounds. The young boys who are getting trained in Masjid Khuddam al-Ahmadiyya and young girls who are getting trained as young Nasirat or young Lajna, they are to have the burden of the responsibilities of the Jama'at in the future. So when we now think that Hazur Vian, he thought about future and he gave us, there's like walls of a building. A building can't be made without walls. These are the walls of the Jama'at, the Khuddam, the Nasirat, the Ansar and Lajna Mal, everybody. Interestingly, of all these 4, 5, 6 organizations, the first one that Hazur found was Lajna Imallah, the organization of the ladies. It was in the year 1922, just a few years after he became caliph in 1914, just 8 years thereafter. It was the year 1922, and remember that was the years when the women in England were just struggling to get universal voting rights. And then, because of the Islamic rights for women and everybody, Hazur had the vision to make it in 1922, when these modern countries were just thinking about that. Every big thing, every great thing has a small beginning. A big tree is formed, and this doesn't mean just the servants of Ahmadis, they are the servants of all mankind. So we see our Khuddam, those who are on the social media and they are on Twitter and they are on Facebook and this and that, our publicity, alhamdulillah, is a lot. Everywhere around the world, maybe it's America, maybe it's Africa, it's Asia, or it is the UK or Europe, everywhere. Every day, every weekend, boys are out doing tabligh, they're holding stalls and everything, and taking the message of peace of Islam to the 4 corners of the world. This was the vision of the MuslehMaud. Similarly then, Majlis Ansarullah, very, very important organization, that is the elders of the Jama'at, though the young men who are in their 40s, they are not the elders, they are still young, as Khalifatul Masih Saleh used to say, that ye to jawano ke jawan. Otherwise, this majlis, this is Ansarullah, means helpers of Allah. Who are the helpers of Allah? Those who do service in the way of Allah. This is the time when you have to think of future and the future world and the hereafter. So, and these are the elders, they have got training all the year. So, as giving upper hand to their younger children, their men and women, everybody, their daughters and their sons and children, and they are also the Ansarullah our grandfathers, and so they can give guidance to youngsters. When Majlis Ansarullah was formed in the year 1940, Hazur had mentioned these few objectives. The Majlis was to promote good and virtuousness in the Jama'at and to impart religious knowledge. Number 2, special efforts to be made for the establishment of namaz and tabligh and preaching, serving fellow human beings, helping members of the Jama'at in progressing in worldly as well as religious fields, and help keep Jama'at members actively united. Majlis At-Tafalul Ahmadiyya, the young boys organization from the ages 7 to 15, that was formed in 1940. These also had 3 objectives in the beginning, although they were more added in future. And I'm just mentioning this, saying that from Majlis Ansarullah for the elders as well as for the Tafal of the children, one important objective given in the very beginning is in the Ansarullah it is establishment of namaz. Similarly, for the children from 7 to 15, Hazur says that Islam is nothing without namaz. If a people desire that the Islamic spirit is kept alive in future generations, they should inculcate the habit of namaz. And without number 2, truthfulness among children. This important trait, truthfulness, should be inculcated in children, very important. Thirdly, they should be encouraged to do hard work. These 3 traits, namaz, worship, and number 2, truthfulness, and to make a noble character, a hard work. These 3 objectives make a nation strong. Then similar are the objectives of Nasir. I just remember I also had to show in a very few words I should talk about Tehreek-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid also. Tehreek-e-Jadid was formed in 1934. It was formed when there were very heavy odds against Jama'at in Qadian. Ahrar, those who know the history of Ahmadiyya, Ahrar was an anti-Ahmadi organization, an anti-Ahmadi body. They had no objective in life but to oppose Ahmadiyya and to be enemies of Ahmadiyya. They brought in a big gathering in Qadian and they announced that they will throw Ahmadis into the Indian Ocean. Hazrat Musleh said, "Man ke paon ke niche se zameen nikalte dekhta hu. I see that the land, the ground under their feet is going away." In that background, when they were trying to, Nauz Billah, throw Ahmadis into the Indian Ocean, Hazur said, "We are not going to be confined to India and Pakistan alone. Pakistan was not there, India alone. Will spread all over the world." So Tehreek-e-Jadid was the organization formed to spread Islam all over the world, all countries of the world. And its financial, the first year, what was required by Hazur was rupees 27,500. Indian rupees 27,500, but the scheme for the whole of the year, you convert into pounds, I don't know, this 100 or 200 or 300 pounds, whatever it is. And the budget of the 2017 year that was announced is 12.5 million pounds. Just see the graph. Every year the graph has gone up. Similar is the Tehreek-e-Waqf-e-Jadid, whereas the Tehreek-e-Jadid was for the spread of Islam Ahmadiyya all over the world. The Waqf-e-Jadid Tehreek was basically for the rural areas, initially for India and Pakistan. Then it was spread to some other countries, African countries, underdeveloped countries. And there also, it was the last financial sacrifice scheme given by Hazrat MuslehMaudDay2018.mov, 1957. Its budget started from a few thousand years, and it has also now gone up to 8.86 million pounds. How many times that you can calculate? So that man of Vian, that man who was called in the prophecy extraordinary, he will be extraordinarily intelligent. This was his vision, this was his prayers, this was his efforts, that we are eating the fruits of his labor.
Jazakallah Wasallam. I am thankful to all those who have taken part, attended this MuslehMaudDay, and all those members who actually impart the knowledge to us. I hope you reap benefit out of this. There were only few, small drops from ocean that we have been able to express in this short time of about one hour and about 10 minutes. So Jazakallah, try to read, as Nabi Sahib has also said and as Yasser Sahib has also alluded to read his books, and also read the books of Prophet Messiah, and never forget to read the Holy Quran with translation on daily basis, and attend prayers in the mosque as many times as you can in congregation.